Corey, happy birthday. The big 2-5. Wow, that's incredible. You know, if young Corey would have thought about where you are today, I doubt she would be envisioning this person. And that's probably because you suck. Totally kidding. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy it. Love, Phil, and Bug.
Hey, CoCo. Happy 25th birthday.
Happy birthday, Corey! I love you so much. I think that you are an impeccable human being. I think that you have a fucking smoking body. You have an amazing butt. You have the most illest dreams and goals and ambitions, and I truly hope that for your next 25 years and for your next 50 and 75 that you continue to keep the same heart and the same drive for the rest of your life. And I don't ever want you to think that society has put a cap on our lives at 25 and we were supposed to accomplish this or we're supposed to accomplish that. Don't think that. You're fucking killing it. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and just keep moving. Don't stop. Don't slow down.
What's up, Corey? If this is what 25 looks like on you, I can't wait to turn 25.
Happy birthday, Corey. I think you're doing great. I really look forward to seeing this podcast as well.
Happy birthday. I love you. I'm so happy you're in my life.
The big 2-5. Super exciting. Super exciting. Such a great age and marker in such a long life to live ahead. I will say I don't think you need any advice. You're already extremely hardworking. You're super smart. You've already built a brand for women. I feel like the only thing that I will say to you is literally enjoy it, because next thing you know, you got kids and you're in your 30s. So live it up. Happy birthday. And yeah,
25 is just a number in my book, so I feel young. Happy birthday, CoCo. Love you.
Cheers to you, bitch.
Am I allowed to curse on here?
Oh my God, guys. We made it. Class is officially in session. I'm psyched right now. Dearest fellow inmates, welcome to the School of Hard Knocks, to 25 to life. We have all been placed here together to do our time and complete our life sentences. Mine being year 25 to the rest of my life, however long that may be. And now that we are here, we might as well share our funniest stories, craziest experiences, and discuss the hilarious dysfunction so many of us face every single day as we try to follow the laws of life. Here we make our own rules and we learn things the hard way. The underlying theme to 25 to Life is promoting mental health and opening the door for difficult conversations and minimizing the insecurities that come along with them. My mission is to bring you fire content that will make you laugh, reflect, and feel better about your own bullshit using original memes, this podcast, and vlog.
I really said vlog.
The vlog will be posted on YouTube, and the podcast will be available on all platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcast. I will continue updates through the Instagram page. So class will be in session, aka episodes will drop. I'm thinking twice a month, but whatever I decide, it will be dropped on a Sunday. This is not a scripted show. It's just, this is episode 1, and I know that there's a lot of basic information I got to get out there. And if you do know me, which a lot of you do, I am a little bit scatterbrained. So I did have to write some of this down just to make sure I get the necessary information across. Because otherwise I'll go on some random tangent or something and we won't get to that necessary information. So let's address the elephant in the room. Shout out to Phil, who unfortunately couldn't attend regularly this season as initially planned. I had an amazing male lead as a co-host and schedules just didn't work. There's no drama here, nothing interesting, no storyline to pan out. So anybody that's here as a Phil fan, I really appreciate you listening to this anyway. I mean, that genuinely means a lot to me. Phil will be featured in episodes. He is not forgotten and he is totally loved, and he always will be a foundational part of this podcast. I mean, he was who I bounced every idea off of from the very beginning, and that is not forgotten. So what to expect? What's going to be on this season of 25 to Life? there's some questionable things that will happen, and then there's some episodes that's a little bit more like, all right, I could watch this with my dad, like it's fine. This is an educational podcast. There will be journalistic interviews, but there will also be a lot of joking. Literally anything is on the table here. Anything goes. I am not a very judgmental person. I want to talk about it. I want to learn, and I want to help other people get information that might be helpful to them. And I want to give people a voice, and I want to give myself a voice. And so I thought, why not? If you're somebody that's interested in investing, or you're interested in marketing, there's going to be a really interesting episode on that. If you're somebody that has been affected by mental illness, this is a great podcast for you. I think you'll feel incredibly supported, and you're going to see that a lot of people out there are struggling with not just anxiety and depression, but they actually suffer from it clinically and chronically, because there's a difference if you're feeling anxious versus being an anxious person, like you have actual anxiety. I'm excited because I think that there's going to be an episode for everybody. There's going to be those funny episodes when you just kind of want something mindless to listen to and, just something relatable. And then there's going to be episodes where you're not going to laugh a lot, but you're going to learn a lot. And you're going to leave the podcast hopefully being like, wow, that inspired me, or that made me think, that sparked an idea in my head. So my goal is not always to be controversial, but it's to leave you with something, whatever that may be. Or even sometimes for me to say an idea that I have or something that I've been feeling, and then for you to just kind of click in your mind and go, oh my God, I feel that way too, but I didn't have the right words. I also want to invite you to come onto this podcast with me and become an official inmate. I created this to give myself a voice, as well as to give you a platform to share your own shit. We already have a couple people signed up, and you could be next. DM at 25 to Life Podcast on Instagram, or you can DM me on my personal account, and let's get you on this show. What is my quarter life crisis? I don't think that I'm actually going through a crisis per se. I'm very grateful, and I'm very content with the life that I have. It's very easy to make jokes about people in their 20s. I love making jokes about people in their 20s, and I love making self-deprecating jokes about myself. So I thought that's the perfect name for this. I'm about to be 25 on December 5th. And it just kind of seemed like, after all the adversity and what me and Phil had planned for episode 1 and that not working out, I was kind of at a crossroad. I was a little bit stuck. I was like, I don't know where to go with this next, but I know that I need to do something with it, and I'm passionate about it, and I care about it. And so I was really struggling to figure out what to do next. And to me, that is the definition of a quarter life crisis. So that is how the title came to be. And it just kind of all seemed to just come together beautifully. So this kind of just took a direction of its own, and I'm rolling with it, and I'm adapting with it. And I'm very excited and very grateful, because this was not what I was expecting, and it's turning out better. So that's not just a lesson for me with this podcast. This is a lesson with life, I think. These are just some observations, I guess, of what I found is happening in life around me as I turn age 25. So I've noticed I've got joint pain. I have hangovers where I pray to God and promise never again, while crying over the toilet and chugging Pedialyte. I still call productivity adulting, because it's not something that I really want to do all the time, but when I do it, I am adulting. I'm like not willing to accept that that's just my life now. I've had guys mention my biological clock ticking. That screams crisis for me. In my head, I had a little internal crisis when someone brought that up to me. I was like, excuse me, sir. I graduated high school like yesterday. We're not going there. But then I processed a little bit, and I was like, okay, that was 8 years ago, but still. That being said, though, half my friend group is on OnlyFans, and the other half They're posting pictures of their baby showers on Facebook and engagement rings. And then I've got my other friends that are, chasing master's degrees and starting entrepreneurial businesses, which is dope as fuck. So I think, you've got friends in all different places right now. I'm independent now. I do a lot of things myself, but I also still need my parents, and it freaks me out if like my mom doesn't answer and I need something. I'm like,
girl, I need this information. Like, I need to know. You've been through life more than me, girl. I need this answer.
Or just to freak out, like be like,
Mom, I tried adulting today and it's not going well. Please pick up the goddamn phone.
Job searches require 3+ years experience, but the reason you lack it is because no one will give you the opportunity to gain some. That hasn't necessarily been a struggle for me as someone that right out of high school, I kind of went into the workforce and I did not get my degree. But, there's people that I have experienced that I was working with at like Gold's Gym that got a degree and they were working the same job as me. So that was kind of a shocker to me. I was like, wow, that sucks, dude. Like you have 4 years of college degree and, I've got 2 years of experience on you and I'm moving up in the company faster. That blows. But that doesn't take away the amazing accomplishment of a degree. Now, that being said, I find that there's actually a lot of positives to being my age. I would never want to go back in time and be any younger. I think I'm somebody that's getting riper with age, and I'm finding my tribe. I'm finding my purpose. I'm finding what works for me, and I'm enjoying this right now. I think this is the best time in my life I've ever had, but that's because I've been working so hard on myself. And I've noticed a lot of people in their low 20s, they party it up. And so I do wonder for myself if one day I'm going to look back and be like, shit, I wish I partied more. I was so rigid and I was so, uptight and so disciplined on my own schedule and on these creative projects and whatever I'm doing that maybe I'm not making enough time for fun. But I think that's an interesting concept in itself because what's fun to me is doing things like this, is learning, is working out, is being productive. That is fun to me. And then if I want to relax, I'll take a bath, like an Epsom salt bath or something. But for other people, even ones that are older than me, some of them, they find fun in, going out, drinking and doing, I guess, more what society says is normal fun. Yeah, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm more confident in my body than I've ever been. I used to be a lot leaner and I was so insecure.
So insecure.
I'm kind of just enjoying life a little bit more and not being so strict. And I love it. I love myself. I love how I look. And I just don't care what other people think of me the way that I used to care. And I do think that comes with age and with confidence of just kind of embracing who you are as you get older. And this isn't high school anymore. And I was bullied a lot in high school. So I do wonder if for me, it's just been easier to kind of silence voices and opinions because they've always had something to say. I'm dressing more conservative. Like, as I said, I'm more confident in my body than ever. And I don't know if that's a contribution to why I'm dressing differently. But first of all, there is nothing wrong with dressing sexy. If you got them titties, show them titties.
Flaunt them, girl. God bless you.
But I also do find that it's not necessary to do that for me to feel sexy. Sometimes I want to. I'm like, all right, I'm going out tonight. I want my boobies out. There we go. Get some nice cleavage. But I don't need to dress like that during the day if I'm going to meet up with my mom for lunch or whatever it is. If I'm going to the grocery store, I don't need to look like that. And if you do,
God bless you.
I just find for my own self that I don't need to do that as much anymore. And it's empowering. So overall, I just feel like I'm maturing into the woman that I'm supposed to be. I can say that strengthening my faith and my relationship with God, that's helped a lot. I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about believing in something. And I think that that's so important because as you get older, you realize that there's only so much that you can genuinely control. And if you freak out over what you can't control, instead of just trusting in God or source or chief or whatever it is that you believe, that things are just gonna work out. It's becoming easier to just kind of let things go. And I think that that's really a beautiful thing because holding on to things that don't serve you is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life is makes everything so much harder. I think of where I was 5 years ago and where I'm at now, because every year I make a 5-year goal list, which is terrifying to think like, oh my God, I'm going to hit 30 and reflect back versus 20 to 25. But I accomplished everything that I wanted on that list. And to me, that's a strong indication that I'm on the right track and that things do kind of come full circle. So that's pretty amazing. The last thing I found is like, I don't like arguing anymore. I don't feel the need to have the last word. I think conflict is extremely unappealing. I used to have this damsel in distress kind of aura, like mentality almost, and not necessarily that I wanted to, but I was just so dramatic and I would have these meltdowns all the time. Then I would get explosive and I would always be yelling at people and feeling like I had to say the last word and like defend myself. And now, like, I'm not afraid of conflict, but I really just don't want it. And as somebody that used to fight, now I flight. Like now I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this right now. I have so much shit to do. I don't have the energy for this. So I'm just going to walk away. I'm going to think about if it's worth it. I'm going to think about how to politely communicate what I'm feeling. And I'll revisit this later. And if other people aren't able to kind of have that same mature communication, then basically I just cut them out of my life, because at a certain age, you just kind of just don't have the capacity to deal with it anymore. I do think overall, people are no longer doing things for real life, but they're doing them for the gram or the snap. We literally have two realities that we're living in. We have our virtual reality and we have our actual reality. If you go to my Instagram page and you look at my pictures, you do not know me based on a one-dimensional profile that I put together. You know, in real life, that you see me from every angle. You see my, you hear me talk. You see my idiosyncrasies. I'm really like, I talk with my hands. My face does its own thing. Like, these are things that you don't get on Instagram. And these are things that are beautiful and make up humans and make up what connects you to them, their charisma, their idiosyncrasies that are so dope. And so it is tough to be somebody at this awkward age, trying to kind of connect with people as an adult, connect with them differently, but also navigating this technology. People are treated like disposable trash. And if it isn't instant, we don't want it the same way. Things take time. Good things come to those who work for it, but also to those who wait and are patient. But this is the world we're trying to navigate in 2020, this world of technology, of political divide. And for me, my mid-20s as a young single with a developing career and a lot of dreams, we are constantly being fed the term the new normal.
What the fuck is normal?
My normal, chaos, dysfunction, that has always been my normal. And I'm here to make the best of it. So that is my quarter life crisis. As a gift to myself, because I love to learn and I'm a very curious person, I asked my fellow inmates to shoot me some advice or share a funny story, since I won't get to see them or celebrate this year.
First of all, 25 and your 20s and 30s and even your 40s are amazing years. Really, age is just a construct, and I know that sounds hippie as shit, but
that's what I believe.
I always make the joke with people that age is just a number. It's relative, right? I mean, sometimes you can consider it as just a number. You know, when I turned 25, people told me that, don't you feel old? You're old. And honestly, I told them, no, I feel younger than you.
Younger than you.
Honestly, I attribute that to not just my physical well-being, but also my mental health.
25th, huh? What can I say? Number one, focus on your career. Get your priorities straight. So work hard because it's going to pay off.
Invest in yourself. Start a business. Push past your comfort zone.
definitely make it about you. If you're single, enjoy being single.
Start prioritizing your life. Start prioritizing, your career. In your early 20s, you're more focused on, making friends and going out and having a good time, which is all well and fun. But at a certain point, you really got to start focusing on where you're going, your future, your career. Make sure that your goals are in the back of your mind, and make sure you're starting to prioritize situations okay, I'm going to go out, but how am I going to compensate for this?
Take pictures. Things you're doing in your life may seem meaningless until you look back later on, right? and then they seem like big events and you wish you would have documented them. So even if it's like annoying and tedious, right, just snap a couple pictures and you're gonna be grateful for that later on.
25 years old, now is the time to travel.
It's never not a time to travel, but
Nobody's depending on your ass yet. Go and use your passport and get your little travels in, because there will be maybe a phase in life where that just becomes a little bit more sparse, whereas now you should just be able to like hit the air and go somewhere cool.
Another thing is prioritizing your friend groups and, kind of getting rid of anyone who's destructive or anyone who brings you down. Start including people who are going to be there for you. There are people going to back you no matter what. People who are, just genuine good people.
Also about to read you an Instagram quote. If you knew how hard it was and how long it took to rebuild my little universe of peace and happiness, then you'd understand why I'm so picky about who I allow in my life. So, you choose who you allow into your circle. If at any point in time someone you've allowed in your circle disturbs that peace, you have the power to no longer allow them in there. Don't apologize for it.
Hit the gym harder than ever so that you can keep your body fit in your 30s, 40s.
Take it from somebody who's on their third career in 5 years. It's okay to not have a plan. If you haven't found your purpose yet, don't compare yourself to other people, because that's just gonna screw with your head. And you're your own person. You got your own plan, your own purpose.
Understand that you can always have a change of heart, whether that's with school, with relationships, with friends.
Everything happens for a reason. So whatever you plan on doing, it's for a reason, or whatever you plan on doing these next 365 days is for a reason.
This little quote that I have in my office, it says, if you choose an option because it's the only one, then you haven't chosen, you've settled. So don't ever settle, and don't ever think that the only option that's in front of you is the only one that you're gonna find. Keep fucking pushing.
You are not going to be the same person you are right now next year, or in 2 years, or the year after that. And that's okay. Because, we learn shit and we grow up. So, keep that in the back of your mind when people ask why you've changed. Say, you know what, I grew up.
Don't let someone's outside perspective or opinion affect you. There's always going to be naysayers in anything that you do. Yeah, you might fail. Sometimes you might fail a few times before you succeed. But those are the challenges that are going to create amazing character.
Writing down goals does help. For me, just visually seeing something, whether it's, written down on my phone or whatever, really, really helps me kind of gauge where I'm at. You can do this every year, every month, every week, every day. It's whatever works for you personally.
Make sure you always have something to look forward to on your calendar, like maybe once a month at least. If you tend to get like in a down space, you can get yourself out of it pretty quick if you always have something on the
calendar.
And lastly, make sure that you dance the night off, do late nights, party it up, because you're not going to be able to do that forever. So otherwise, keep grinding, keep playing hard and partying hard.
Wow. I'm dumbfounded. I love the positivity. This is a confirmation to me of how lucky I am, and how amazing of a tribe that I have. My crew, my squad, these people, not all of them, but I'm so grateful that everybody that I have in my life gives me such good advice, is so positive and so wise. And I do think that matters. Who you surround yourself with does make a huge impact on your life and where you're at. And so, I contribute my success and my happiness right now, not only to myself, but to those in my supportive circle, because it does take a village and it is important to find yours. So thank you guys so much for that video. I mean, you guys helped me make this episode. So thank you so much.
Today's interview is going to be with Erik Hansen, CEO of Mekanic.
Episode 1 is quarter life crisis, and not that you're going through a midlife crisis, but I know you hit 40 this year, and I hit my 25 this year, and I thought, you're really successful and I look up to you. So I'm like, this is the perfect person. So I'm really happy that you took the time to do this.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I'm going through midlife crisis.
Let me make that very clear.
But yeah.
Erik, you have a successful company, Mekanic, a branding and creative agency based in Alexandria, Virginia, in which the local Chamber of Commerce crowned you Best Small Business of the Year. That says a lot, as so many small businesses are struggling to survive in 2020. I remember the mayor even attended your grand opening party. You have a beautiful family. You've bought a house equipped with a hot tub and a ping pong table. You managed to be a family man and still find time to balance business and fun. I look up to you as my brother and as a successful business owner and entrepreneur. So let's get to it. My first question is not about Mekanic and your success. I will get to that. I want to know, what was your first ever business and how did that go?
Well, thank you, Corey, for all the flattering words. I appreciate that. What was the first, and I'm excited to be on here too, and happy early birthday.
Thank you.
My first business, real business.
Yeah, whatever you're feeling, wherever your mind goes, talk to me.
I started I think my entrepreneurial journey started at a very young age. I mean, as soon as I learned that I could make money doing things for other people, I started doing that. So I was mowing lawns and raking leaves, back in the early 80s. To make money, and then through high school, I started doing graphic design work. I got paid for that. I went through a period where I made fake IDs for a while.
Oh my God.
But that really is what springboarded me into graphic design. And then in college, I had a business. I don't know if I'd call it a business, but a business throwing parties.
So you must have made good business too, doing fake IDs and then partying together. That's entrepreneur mindset from the start.
I always liked working. I always had a job. I had my first real job when I was 15, and I never really looked back. Right, I always wanted to work and make money. And so I started an agency and opened my first agency in Georgetown called Hanson Holiday in 2004. A couple of years after I had moved back to DC. From that point, I was living in Toronto.
And how old were you at this point?
24.
Okay.
I had taken time off of college and I was back in school, and I had some really great professors, and I was exposed to a lot of great designers. And, I had been working in marketing and sales and things of that nature. At that time, branding wasn't really, that was just kind of starting as a term, or as like a regularly used term in business. Or at least from my lens and my exposure. But we were doing branding. It was just called corporate identity.
Oh, wow.
That's at that time. And I was hiring different designers and copywriters. And I even hired professors of mine at that time who worked on projects with me.
Right.
Became part of my senior thesis.
Oh, wow. So it kind of all worked together.
Yeah, I mean, I made sure my whole life has always, like, work and personal life have always been very interconnected.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, I wonder if that's even an entrepreneur mindset to a certain extent, because networking is fun for people like that. you talk about what you're doing and you enjoy it, you're passionate about it, and then you connect with people that have that similar mentality, I guess, in a way.
Absolutely.
So this is not one of my questions, but this, as you started talking, I do remember a story that you moved to California at one point and tried out the West Coast, and they just had a completely different, I guess, way of business out there. So can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. And again, I was pretty young at that time. So, you know, I know a lot of people that live on the West Coast to this day. I do business on the West Coast. We have clients on the West Coast. So I moved out to California, I think 5 days before I turned 21.
Wow.
And I took a job working for Kinko's at the time, which is now FedEx office.
Oh my gosh.
And I had worked for them previously, and I took a job out there to work for them in marketing and design. It just was at a very different pace. You know, people operate around their lifestyle on the West Coast, as opposed to on the East Coast. I felt like I was making my lifestyle around my work. There it was around, you put your work around your lifestyle. So I remember like my first day at work, my boss was like 2 hours late because he was surfing. You know, I just quickly realized that wasn't the culture for me at that time. I had a different track and ambition that I was on than the folks that at least I was surrounded with out in California at that time.
Yeah. I mean, and that's important, who you surround yourself with. So I guess you were in your low 20s when you had that experience. So can you tell me more about what you were like in your low 20s and what were some fears or concerns you had for yourself at that age?
Yeah. So I think my biggest, when you sent me that question ahead of time, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, because if I think about it, my knee-jerk reaction was I wasn't afraid of anything. But the more I thought about it the last couple of days, what I think I was fearful of was not being somebody and not doing something, not contributing, not having good stories to tell and good experiences in my life, or exciting experiences. And so I was afraid of just doing what everybody else was doing. But in that, I had no fear about, I was never risk adverse. I'm much more, and even to this day, I'm not very risk adverse. I just went on a motorcycle ride with my 8-year-old son. But I was afraid I was a bad student, and I dropped out of college, for a couple years. I felt like I had a lot to prove, right? I didn't want to prove it was all for nothing, right? Like I knew I was on a different path, and I wanted to prove to our parents and to family and friends that just because I didn't go and I did end up graduating top of my class, but I wasn't a good student, and I wasn't on the trajectory that most of my friends and peers were on. And so I think my biggest fear was not succeeding in that. And then what? And then what do you do? So
yeah. I mean, as I can definitely relate to being someone that took like the road less traveled, but in your mind, to like 90% what you're doing. You're hoping that it's going to work out that way, but in your head, like that idea is there. And clearly for you, you knew what you were doing because you got there.
Well, but I think it's important. And I mean, listen, if any entrepreneur isn't reading lots of books and listening to lots of content, I fell on my face plenty of times and lost lots of money and made a lot of bad decisions and had a lot of bad partnerships and ate a lot of ramen and, and not the good ramen, like the 29-cent, bag ramen, you know, like
7-Eleven.
it wasn't, you know, the path I took was not for the faint of heart.
Right.
No, it was not easy. It's not easy today. It had a, you know, it wasn't only reason, but, you know, like my first marriage didn't work out. That had a lot to do with it, right? My business trajectory and the type of person that I was was not the right person for my first marriage. And so, yes, you know, depending on how you measure success and look at success, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy ride.
Yeah. So you wouldn't wish it on anyone else, but
you know, it's your choice, right? If that's the path you decide to take, you just better be ready
to deal with the adversities that
kicked in the
come.
stomach a few times.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think with though that prepares you to be a good business woman or man, because nothing is easy. And even business owners in 2020, I mean, no one expected to deal with something like coronavirus, and then you're forced to just adapt and change to whatever's happening. And if you're somebody that, I think a lot of people, it's the first thing they ever really had to deal with that was just so abruptly changing their entire life. And if you're somebody that's dealt year after year with those kinds of scenarios, then it makes for a better business at the end of the day. And of course, you don't have to talk about this if you're not comfortable, but what age were you when you got married the first time? And like during all of that, tied into the business side of stuff, like were you concerned? And like what, it must have been very difficult, like you said, but how did you remain focused and keep moving forward, like despite everything happening?
I was 27 when I got married to my ex-wife. And it was for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you know, she was a wonderful person. I hope she's, you know, living a good life. But we got married for the wrong reasons and to the wrong people. You know, I stayed focused and went through it all. One, because I had a good support system.
Right.
My family was very helpful through a lot of that in navigating that, but also I got through it because I didn't have a choice, right? Like there wasn't a plan B.
Right. This is it.
So it was just, you know, when I got a divorce, I cut all my losses. I gave her everything and took nothing and except for a TV and bag of clothes, and
wow.
You know, started from scratch again because that's just what was in my nature, and you know,
like, and adapting. I actually saw a meme that just said it's not starting from scratch. When something ends like that, it's starting from experience, because you're starting over again with those not necessarily even mistakes, but just, you know, it didn't work out. Now you know, more information on what works for you and what doesn't, or what you're looking for.
You know, listen, I recognize them as failures or, you know, things like that. But to your point, it just was another experience that influenced the next bad decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I think you're hard on yourself, but that's such a mindset of a successful person, is just, you know, you are hard on yourself and you push harder to be successful every time. And I'm sure even now with Mekanic, you're always finding ways, and we'll get to Mekanic, to expand that and grow that even more. Really quickly, while we're still on age, if you could go back and just tell yourself one thing at 25, what would you tell yourself?
I would have been much smarter with the money I did have.
Okay.
I like toys, and I partied a lot in my 20s, and not like, I don't mean like drugs but like I would go to nice restaurants and nice bars and
enjoyed yourself,
nice trips and dates and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And that all costs a lot of money.
Right.
I don't know if I would have given up all that stuff, but I mean, I would have, knowing what I know now, I would have bought a condo.
Okay.
At a younger age. I wish I had done it
sooner.
At 27.
Okay. So
at 27, I could have bought. At 27, I could have bought. And my ex-wife and I, we tried to do this weird deal with a realtor, and it blew up in our face. And
so from your experience, it's trusting who you're doing this with too.
I'm also happy my ex-wife and I didn't buy a house together, because then I didn't end up having to deal with that shit when we
Yeah.
divorced. But young people think that buying is not accessible, and that is not true. You know, do you have to give up a few things? Yeah. Do you have to be a little smarter with your money? But like, I was just talking about this last night with a buddy of mine. Like, I wish in my early 20s, when I did have 20 grand, that I had taken that 20 grand and put it on a down payment on a small condo, even if it was a studio.
Right.
Because the friends that I do have that did that, like, that really can perpetuate wealth and security in a lot of different ways. And I wish I'd done that.
So these are people that they started leasing the condo, or they eventually just sold the condo, or both?
I'd say it's a mixture of both. And again, it depends on at what price point you buy and all of those things. But like,
yeah,
I have good friends of mine who bought cheap condos, saved up while they lived there for 5 years, and saved up enough money to put another down payment on another condo that was a little bit bigger and keep that and rent it.
Right.
Vice versa. I also know people that also was the ability to have a stepping stone to having an easier time when you want to buy a house as a family.
Good point. Yeah. When you've already been an owner.
And you need a much bigger property or a bigger house to accommodate a family, you would have something you can sell to then do that. Because the difference between rent and mortgage is, I wish I'd bought property.
Okay. That was my thing. Is there anything you wish you tried? So I guess buying property. And going back to what you said before too, about how you did party, but you just experienced like nice dining and like all of that. I mean, I would say no regrets on that, right? Because
no,
if you could go back in time, yeah, at least you can say like I experienced. Yeah.
I have great memories and great stories. And if it's not worth talking about, it's not worth doing. I think I read that somewhere.
I like that. I agree with that.
Yeah. If you don't want to tell somebody about it, then why'd you do it?
Okay. So that brings us to current present moment. So how is 40 treating you? What's different about it? And how did you get to where you're at right now with this business and everything else going on?
I made it, to get to where I am with the business, I made a lot of mistakes. And to your point, those became experiences for the next step to not make those same mistakes. And so at the onset of Mekanic, I had my wife as a co-founder and partner.
Yeah.
Katie, my wife now. She co-founded the company with me, and she has a very non-entrepreneurial approach. So that slowed me down from a typical pace that I would operate at, which was good because it kept me a little bit more grounded than I had been with previous business ventures. We brought in a third business partner, Alex. He has a really strong background in finance and operations. And so he really, again, made sure that we, as he likes to say, slow down to speed up.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that we made the right financial decisions as a small business. When do you buy a new computer? When do you buy a printer? When do you get more office space? When do you hire? He really kept us at a pace with a strategy a long-term strategy to get us to where we are now, 6 years in business.
So step one was a solid team, and each of you contributed something very differently.
Yes, I would agree with that. There's a lot, like if you listen to Guy Raz, How I Built This, or his recent book, How I Built This, or, you know, a lot of these things, there's something to be said about finding a good partner and co-founder to run your business with. It's hard. I've failed at it 4 times before that, but when it works, it can work really well, which it does for us. So slowing down, speeding up, being much more grounded and paced in what I did was, I think, what helped make Mekanic what it is today and continues to as we look to the future. It's been good. So that's, I think, being a little bit more grounded because of the people that I surrounded myself with kept us at a more of a marathon pace than a sprint pace.
Okay. Longevity though.
Yeah. You know, what was I, you know, what are you in a rush for? Right. Doing it right, improving it, constantly doing better and doing it for the right reasons, for the right clients, for the right projects was more important than, you know, an end game, because there's not really an end game. 40 looks very different than I ever thought 40 would. But it's, for the most part, great. Outside of some family health things that we're dealing with my in-laws, you know, life is great. And even with that, it's, we're running into challenges, but it also is giving us an opportunity to get to know my father-in-law much better than we probably ever would have, at least at the speed in which we are, if he didn't get sick last year. It's hard on a marriage right now because my wife has a lot of responsibility with being a caregiver, but overall, life is great. You know, I've got a great, beautiful new home. Business is doing okay. My son is amazing. I'm doing a lot of stuff that I didn't do before, working out in the yard, chopping wood, you know, fixing stuff.
Hello there.
Handyman.
Which is nice because as running a company, you know, you're looking at things with long-term rewards.
Right.
Chopping down a tree, you get the gratification when the tree is done, you know? Yeah. So a lot of that has been great. I've been getting to do a lot more with Everett outside and spending more time with him. I still get to see family and friends just in a different capacity, you know, sitting on our deck next to a fire as opposed to out at a bar or you know, I miss that part of life because that was a big part of who I am. You know, I travel a lot for work. I go and meet clients. I spend a lot of time networking and with peers. And so that's kind of a gap, but I think overall it's been a great year of being 40. I mean, the COVID stuff sucks, but
yeah,
you know, got to try to just get to the other side of this.
Which was more challenging for you to like learn as you go, being a father or being a businessman?
Being a businessman. Being a father came very naturally for me. I think it came easy for me. It wasn't like I never was like, oh my God, what do I do? It was just like, oh, there's a child and now I take care of it and I feed it and I love it. I try to show it, you know, show my son good values and giving back. And so being a better businessman is much, business person, woman, man, is much more work because you really have to understand your weaknesses. You have to lead other people. People have to believe in you. You have to believe in them.
Yeah.
You have to grow in areas of skills that you might not have ever thought you would have to grow in or focus on. So I think being a real business person and a real CEO has been the biggest, learning ladder for me for the past few years.
I'm sure. What I find so fascinating is the fact that you started as just an entrepreneur trying to build your own business, like quote unquote small business, I guess. And then now you're out here successfully helping other small businesses brand themselves and create, I guess, just what their outline is and all of that. So I've always wanted to fully understand, because you're more than just branding, what your agency does. Can you kind of just simply explain that?
Yeah, so we help companies become a better version of themselves through the lens of their customer. So we help, we don't work with a lot of startups. Occasionally we do, but most of our clients have been in business for some period of time. And what they've realized is how they present themselves to the market is not truly reflective of who they want to be or how they want their customers to perceive them, or maybe it's different than how their customers perceive them. And so we help them, for lack of a better, analogy, peel back the onion and look from the inside out to ask the customers who they are, to then bring to life a story of who you are, what you do, and why it matters, and why should somebody buy your product or service over somebody else, and build a whole system around that can scale with the company over years and be cultivated over time. I mean, brand is often viewed as or historically, I mean, luckily it's starting to shift, but it's just like the logo and the colors and that stuff. And it is all those things, but it's also the story and the meaning behind it, the culture, how the business operates. So we are full service. We do everything from business and operational strategy to messaging and storytelling to design, and then implementation. How do you market that and bring it to life across social media and events and experiences and, all the different touch points in which a customer interacts with a brand, and we help shape that.
That's so cool. I just find it really interesting that you're basically helping businesses create their individuality or like bring that out. And earlier in the interview, you said you're not somebody that's ever really wanted to just fit the mold of what was normal or just fit in. So it's really sick that you're basically just helping other people and create profitable ways to do the same thing. So that was all of my most pressing questions. Do you have like a final thought or closing statement?
Final thought is, I think, especially if you're talking to this younger demographic of 25, to 30, is you're not in a rush, or don't be in a rush, because what are you rushing towards? Money and fame are not, I promise you, what you're going to find true value in. But you've got to figure out, how can you make a contribution to the world, whether it's as an employee or a business owner, and enjoy doing it and not want to pull your hair out every day, and recognizing that it's not going to be easy and it's not always fun, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
That's true.
But just don't be in a rush, and have some purpose behind what you want to do.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I've learned a lot about you. Even though
send me the link when it's up on the interwebs.
I will. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you too. I found that interview to be fascinating. I thought it was so interesting. I learned so much, not only about my own brother, but about business. Now I'm thinking about things I need to invest in, which I've already been thinking about, and we will have an episode about that. But yeah, I thought this
I'm just excited.
I'm excited for this podcast and this vlog. I'm excited for where this is going. I am not perfect. I am in no way going to pretend to be perfect during this podcast. I'm excited to talk more to all of you and to learn as I go and just see where this goes. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for attending our first class, our first episode. And I will see you next time, where we will be kicking it with Colton Carter to talk about mental health in the military and what that transition outside of it looks like. Bye, guys. I'll see you soon.